So, something I've been obsessed with lately are really far north islands here in the Arctic. And this is something that I always thought was super cool. Like, what goes on in these places, especially in these ones in Russia? Like, I've never heard of any towns up here. You never hear anything about here. Almost everything you hear about in Russia is from Moscow. You might have seen YouTube videos from Yakutsk, which is the coldest city on Earth that has a sizable population in the winter. I mean, this place gets -40, -50 all the time. But if you go even farther north than Yakutia, you get to these weird island chains up here. And even farther north than those, you get to these five random little islands up here. Now, have you ever thought, what goes on here? And how did these even get discovered? And do people even visit these? Well, so I looked into these. These are called the Delong Islands. So it all started in 1879 when this guy from America named Captain Delong was trying to reach the North Pole. And this is something that people hadn't done up to that point because on Google Maps, this looks like it's just water, but in reality, this is just pure ice. So it is just impossible to break through this area. Well, he came up here through the Bering Strait, and he ended up getting stuck. His ship kind of broke down around this point, and for 2 years straight, he just drifted through the Arctic with his crew, left notes all of the time about the ice data, the weather, where he was at, and eventually, after like 14 months of just drifting through the ice, he eventually came across this island chain, as we now know as the Delong Islands, named after him. So, one of the first islands that he discovered was this super random island way out here called Jeanette Island. And on Google Maps, it looks really weird. Like, why, when you zoom out, it looks different? You zoom in, half the island's cut off, but there's like a bunch of ice around here. Like, what is going on? Why can't we see this, Google? And you kind of get a similar story up here with Henrietta Island. It's like kind of cut off. It's super low resolution. You can see the Google text and you can't see like anything that's gone on here. So I wanted to learn more about what goes on in these two islands. So I went to Map Carta, which I think is a better way to zoom in really close to things. And I went to that same island chain. So you find these islands here, and you find these three islands. And then way up here is this dark patch in the middle of the ocean. And that's where we find Henrietta and Jeanette Island. So let's take a look at Jeanette Island and see what's up there. So this photo is obviously taken in the summertime because in the winter, this is pure ice. There's ice completely surrounding it. But I've zoomed in all across the entire island, couldn't find any structures around there. I did a lot of research online. Some people do take boats up to this area every once in a while to check it out, mostly for scientific exploration. And there might be like a weather station, like a weather pole up here, but I'm not sure exactly where. The more interesting island, I think, is Henrietta Island. So if you come up here, so you can see a lot of these ice chunks, and this is a lot of the stuff that Captain DeLong was sailing through at the time and just drifting through. Um, so if you look way up here, you can see some little houses, and this is an old abandoned weather station. The problem with getting here is you're not allowed to exactly just sail up to this area. First of all, it's an extremely remote area and very far north. I mean, even the most northern town in the United States, Uktiavik, is far more south than these islands are. Second of all, it's in Russia, which today is difficult to travel to. These waters are very heavily guarded. You can't just stroll a boat through here without special permission and being on a scientific exploration. And third of all, there's not really much you can do to get onto these islands. I watched this hour-long documentary yesterday, and a lot of times they had to take a helicopter from the boat to get onto these islands because there's not exactly a place you can just dock up to on the shore. I wanted to go back to Google Maps to show you how north these islands are. Let's take Henrietta Island. So this is 77 degrees of latitude north, right? Uktiavik, the most northern town in the country, in the United States at least, 71 degrees, so far more south. So what we're talking about is more of being this, no, this far north, honestly. So these really remote Nunavut islands up here, part of northern Greenland. Even Iceland, the very tips of Norway, are far more south than these Delong Islands are. Another thing is, it's winter right now, but these islands are freezing. On average, the low temperature is -15 and the high is -10, and you'd have to be extremely prepared to go there. Oh, and another interesting thing, so they were originally claimed by the United States back when Captain DeLong discovered these, but then eventually Soviet Russia kind of took over these islands, and that's where they belong to today. Oh, and in the documentary I watched yesterday, they did say that there was some human evidence that there were people here around 15,000 years ago, which is absolutely wild that people got all the way up here north. I think it was this island, I think it's called Sokof Island. It doesn't say on here, but yeah, I don't know how people got up here. There must have been geography must have been totally different, able to walk around, or maybe able to walk on the ice. And I don't think modern day humans are really cut out to live up here. But there are a lot of small towns, villages, more like that are in these northern parts of Russia. We can zoom into a random one here. And yeah, there's actually quite a few people, a lot of things going on. So it is definitely possible to inhabit these parts of the country. But even up here, I mean, there's no wildlife. There's just polar bears, really. So yeah, if you found this video interesting, leave a like and comment. Thank you.